So, if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself, Troy, tell us who you are, what you do for the River Cats, and maybe just a little bit about the River Cats would be great.
Sure. Yeah, so Amber, we Sacramento River Cats, been in West Sacramento for, geez, what is it, 23 seasons now. Started the Savage family, Art Savage, was the founder of the River Cats, brought them in 1999. They started to build on the stadium, and it was actually completed in 8 months. You're ready for the inaugural season in 2000, and it was family owned and operated for a long time, all the way up until just recently. I'm sure you heard news of the new partnership with the Sacramento Kings,
Yeah.
acquiring the River Cats, and just excited about the opportunities now that present itself from, I'm pointing this way over where
Yeah.
the Tower Bridge is, very close by, and just that sports corridor now that's going to be really built out even more in this community. So, kind of my role in it, I'm the VP of ticket sales and marketing. So I have my hands in both, two pretty big teams over here of anything ticket sales related, and then the marketing side as well. So I'm heavily involved in both those departments.
Okay. Can you tell
Yeah.
us, did you go to college? What school or schools did you go to? And has that
Yeah.
been helpful, do you think, in your career so far?
Yeah. So I played baseball in college.
Okay.
Baseball was always like the actual playing side of it was definitely, like, growing up was like the big passion, and that helped me, stay focused and get into college at that point, making
Yeah.
that leap. And then from there, everybody, at some point, whether you end up in the Hall of Fame or just play Little League or whatever the sport is, like, your playing days are going to end at some point. So, like, in college, I was able to make that realization of, um, there's going to be the end of the road here on the field, but off the field, there's a whole nother career that can last a lot longer. And that
Yeah.
helped me find the passion for the business side of baseball.
Okay.
I'm definitely very much more focused and, like, interested in minor league baseball specifically. I went to St. John Fisher College. It's up in Rochester, New York.
Okay.
So I actually grew up in Arizona,
Okay.
graduated high school there, went to New York.
Okay.
I've got family ties in upstate New York, so it wasn't that,
Okay.
wild for me to
Okay.
uh, test the waters there. But
Yeah.
um, then I got a sport management degree. That was my
Okay.
focus.
Great.
Took me a little bit to figure out what exactly I wanted to do. I was in the initial psychology route, and then I switched to athletic training, and then I
Yeah.
was landed on sport management and the business side.
Okay.
That was around the time I was um, figuring out the bigger picture of what you can do in this career. So,
Okay.
um, got into an internship with the Rochester Red Wings. So that's the
Okay.
AAA team for the Minnesota Twins at the time.
Okay.
And that was my first intro into the sports world. So that was, like, all the way doing, like manual, like physical labor of, like, moving, getting picnics ready for the
Oh
events
gosh.
that were coming out. Like, was
Okay.
even in, so I was doing a lot of that
Yeah.
setup. I suite attended, was in concession storefronts.
Okay.
Then that evolved to being brought back the next year to doing, like, group sales and game day promotions.
Okay.
So that season was focused on, that was really my first, like, sales experience. And it was very much like, um, there was definitely training involved, but there was a lot of, like, learning on the go on the sales side of it.
Okay.
But then there was a huge in-game component. And I guess that was kind of my first taste into, like, the marketing side, more of like the in-game fan experience, like marketing, like theme nights and promotional nights, that kind of stuff. Um, and then from there, the internships ending at the end of the season, and I think it was August, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do next with my life, and actually what kind of job I'm going to get. And it just was good timing. Forbes had put out a article and on ESPN they covered it, and it was 2016, and the River Cats were, it was most valuable minor league organizations, and the River Cats were number one, and number two wasn't really that close. And I was like, they're doing something right. Like, I'll take,
Okay.
shoot a shot with that. And
Yeah.
teamwork online. They had a job posting for an inside sales position and applied and got it and
Cool.
drove across the country from 3,300 miles from upstate New York to Sacramento. So
Okay.
that was the start here. And
How long ago was that? How long have you been in this role?
so September of 2016 is when I started as an
Okay.
inside sales account executive.
Okay.
I did that for about 5 months,
Okay.
was promoted to corporate sales. So now I was, selling more of, and I know you had asked a question potentially or had sent me one about like customer
Yeah.
focus. And I guess this
Yep.
kind of answers a little bit of that.
Okay.
Some of our customer difference, like our ticket team is broken up to address different customers that we have, where
Okay.
initially inside sales, you were maybe calling on, single game buyers that came out a couple times or
Okay.
different leads that the marketing team gets them that might be a little bit more warm than a cold call, and
Okay.
it could be um, leads that we generate on a company we use is called Fan Compass.
Okay.
So we can do like whether it's in game or if it's a prize type situation where we might have like an autographed hat, say,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like an enter to win type. So we get, leads coming in through that, people entering to win this, or if it's an experience. And we can do those year round, whether it's like in game or if it's, season's over, like now we have maybe merchandise we can use to
Yeah.
generate leads to then, get those in front of the inside sales reps. So I started, in that realm and then was promoted over to the corporate sales side. So then I'm focused more on like the local businesses. Like I had a territory
Okay.
in Sacramento, in the greater Sacramento area. And I'm meeting now with big decision makers like the GMs, presidents, owners of the companies, trying to
Mm-hmm.
talk to them how the River Cats can be a tool that they can use to build relationships with their clients.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Maybe it's retaining clients or getting new business by bringing them out to the game and
Okay.
spending time with them here. Maybe it's what's key to them was like employee retention. Like it's expensive to go find a new employee, so
Mm-hmm.
maybe their ROI comes from retention of staff
Okay.
or morale. So that was that sale, and then I did that for about 2.5 years, and then was promoted to managing the inside sales team that I was once on, and then the corporate sales team um, that I was on as well. So I was managing both those for a little bit, and coincidentally, it's just time in life. I switched it up, and everything had always been baseball for me. So I switched
Mm-hmm.
up and went into actually medical sales in the labor and delivery and NICU space. I was selling disposable products
Interesting.
for 2 years.
Okay.
I didn't know a pandemic was coming. It was just good
Yeah.
timing that I left the entertainment industry basically, and
Okay.
uh, that definitely the sports world, all entertainment took a big hit during that time frame, as a lot of things did. But I learned a lot in that industry, and then was asked in about like November of last year, so coming up pretty close to a year here. The conversation started. I was asked by our then GM, who's now our president, Chip Maxon, to come back in this current role I'm in, a VP of ticket sales and marketing, and kind of marry those two departments together, and a lot of like on the data side and like how we can put things together where the marketing team is um, working with the ticket sales team to generate better leads, and so we can convert more and bring more people into the stadium. So
Great.
it's been a fun year, um, close to a year, which is
Okay.
kind of wild. So close to a year back and fully in this role now.
Okay. Maybe you
Yeah.
can tell us about a recent marketing campaign. Could be something you did in the last season or something you're doing now.
Yeah, something recent, kind of relevant going on. Marketing in a couple ways. So like what we're trying to do really this off season, a lot of it is just, really focused on either lead generation or fan experience. And if they do both of them at the same time, like that's even better.
Okay.
Now that we have, our season ended fairly recently,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's kind of like on the social media side. Now it's like, okay, what content do you put out when you don't? You got to be really creative now and stay relevant. And we don't have the games to talk about. So we're about 5 6 months of what are we doing, and we actually have a podcast that Johnny Doskow, our radio broadcaster, what he does, he end up every week will bring on a former River Cat or a current River Cat player. Some have more MLB experience than others, but he'll bring them on, and we have a podcast that's going. So we're trying to work our social media around that and generate more eyes onto that podcast to then grow that and get more viewership, more listeners, and just keep expanding that. So that's kind of like a current little project we're doing where we're using our media relations. Remember Maverick, he's doing a lot of work on like the player storylines to then provide that to the social media team where they can put attractive posts out to generate more eyes to that podcast, and we're really working in unison all together on that. So that's a fun project we're currently on. Also working with it's kind of tough. Like this year was kind of almost felt like we're like building a new business in a way, just like the reset of and it's not just us, it's like a lot of businesses are this way where it's like, when you have a standstill for so long, it's like you'd like to just pick up and where you left off, but there is a reset and a rebuild and a re-education on certain things. And so through that, we didn't have the as many season ticket members this year as we wanted. Still had a good amount, but we want to get it back to past numbers. And I talked a little bit about like, here's a small example of like having the marketing team and the ticket team work together, where we're reaching out to past season ticket members. Say that the segment that I pulled was from like 2016 to 2021 season ticket members that didn't have a membership with us in 2022, and don't have one currently with us for this upcoming season. We're reaching back out to those through the marketing team, starting those off with like a special deal that they're getting to the marketing team's hitting them with an email first, and then the ticket sales team is coming in off the back of that, calling and inviting them out to the stadium and seeing if we can find a perfect fit for them. So that's kind of like a little way that marketing and sales is working together right now. So it's not just ticket sales like being the first touch point. We're letting the marketing team do that, and then the ticket team will come in off of that.
Interesting. Yeah, both really interesting examples. I think those are both really relevant for us. That's great. Can you tell us who some of your competitors are?
Yeah, I think some of like the first two like obvious ones that like come to mind in the market are like, the other sports teams. So you have the Sacramento Kings, and then you have the Republic. The Republic season overlaps ours more so than the Kings. It kind of works where the Kings, it's like we have so many clients that they have Kings tickets, that season ends and it rolls right into the River Cats, and it's kind of helps. And the way I used to sell that when I was a rep was, that's awesome, you have tickets there, but what are you doing in the off season with the Kings? Like it's now with both seasons, it kind of flows just continually year round to treat your clients. But that's like, so you have those competitors. You then have, I think just naturally in Northern California, there's so many things to do. Like you can't even name them all. Like just from the standpoint geographically, it's like 2 hours to Tahoe. It's, an hour or so to Napa, Bay Area. Like there's a lot of those attractions that summertime people are competing with. But I think one that, and then you've got their, like the San Francisco Giants, A's, and Warriors, like those really aren't that far away. So there's some competition there. But then I think kind of what I don't have exact data to prove it, but I think a good feel of like just talking to people coming out of 2 years where like maybe kids weren't able to do the activities they were doing. I think a lot of families put a big focus into making sure that they got their kids into Little League or karate or dance or, what the event was. In a way that's competition, because that's, they're focused on doing stuff that's outside the ballparks, but that's also an opportunity for us. How do we link up with those summer camps or doing those Little League days to get a big like group day out at the stadium? So
Great.
Could be a pro or a con, depending on the way you look at it. So,
Yeah. I have one off script question just to ask you. You don't have to
sure.
answer this if you don't want to. What does the relationship with the Kings do for you? Does this change anything? Does it make it better in any way, do you think?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm definitely, like positive and optimistic about what the relationship will do.
Okay.
It's so early in that
Yeah.
process, I can't like hit a specific like
Okay.
item per se, but um, and it's like they've got a beautiful arena right across the river. We're
Yeah.
less than a mile away from each other. Kind of talked about that sports corridor
Yeah.
over the time. I don't have like a, definitive timeline, but over the course of, even things that are going to maybe happen this off season to a decade from now, like that
Hmm.
continual. I mean, you could see the way that they expanded the Doco area around
Yeah.
the stadium and how that's grown. And like,
Yeah.
there's buildings around our stadium going up and just how that can like expand. So there's, on the macro side, like excited about what's to come there.
Yeah.
Little things of maybe there's different like, um, platforms or things that they have access or they're,
Yeah.
um, just things like that, sharing
Yep.
technology wise might be a little bit more of an immediate type thing.
Hmm.
One of the cool things we were able to do with our season ticket members, we have, it's a season ticket membership. It's a lot more than just a seat to the game. They have year round events. We just did a really fun one under the lights. It's for all of our business members. We do that down on the field. And it's, like it's more of like a cocktail type dress. We
Oh,
had classic
cool.
cars out,
Oh, cool.
cigar lounge in the dugout, like
Okay.
open bars behind first and third base, a live band, casino style games. So that was a really fun event we did on the
Yeah.
field. We've done that. We were able to bring that back this year. Um, we have events like batting practice on the field we'll do during the season, but with the Kings partnership now, what we were able to add is like more benefits and value to our season ticket members. Like right
Okay.
away, that was able to happen where like our members have a discount in our team store. Well, now they'll have a discount in their team store as
Cool.
well, like pre-sale opportunities for concerts or Kings games.
Cool.
They do different things like similar to our batting practice. They have court time where like our members will be invited to those kind of things. So like there's initial like added value for our members, and
Yeah.
then the front office side, different like technology pieces that will be
Yeah.
great, and then just the evolution of this Sacramento growth in the region here will be
Cool.
cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. Okay, let's see. You've talked about the different audiences that you serve, which I think is really helpful.
Yeah.
We talked about a specific example of a campaign and who some of your competitors are. I guess I will end with, can you give us some advice, any career advice for college aged kids now, particularly those I've got a couple in class who currently play sports or who are really interested in sports? Anything you'd say to them as they're thinking about launching their careers?
Sure. I mean, the best advice I can give is kind of like just like the story I kind of told about how I got into sports. Like I had to drive 3,300 miles across the country by
Yeah,
myself to Sacramento to launch my career.
yeah,
And that, if I'm speaking directly to that student, it's like, don't be afraid of that. I was
yeah,
there. I remember how like daunting that
yeah,
can feel. Um, but don't limit your scope to just what's right around you. Don't be afraid to branch out and go explore, try something
yeah,
new and go. Because what you end up doing when you do that, it's like, I think inevitably, like when you're, and there's so many great options here in this region. And I'm not saying everybody has to go find something somewhere else to do. There's plenty of great things here. Um, in Rochester, it was a little bit more limited in certain
okay,
things that I want to do. And I definitely wanted to get out of the snow too. So I had to come out somewhere. But
okay.
um, I think when you see something, then you have to go like travel to go there and like try something new. You're really like, what you're doing is betting on yourself. Like there's not
Yeah,
the fallback of,
yeah,
oh, well, if this doesn't work out, it's cool. I'm with mom and dad and I can stay here and I'll figure out the next game
yeah,
plan. It's like you really got to invest into all your focused into it. And like, I think what that does is brings the best version of yourself out when you do that. And so just don't be afraid to, if there's an opportunity that's not in your backyard, to explore it. Like, I think that's like, don't limit your scope, you know? And then there's always the battle of, do you go after what you're most passionate, or do you go out for what you're like, you're best at, you know? And it's like, if it's both, then great. And like, that's like, without a doubt, the slam dunk. But I think for me, I always tend to lean more like the passion route. That's what brought me back to the River Cats. Like, I went into medical sales. I did a great job there. I learned something. Like, how could I not be passionate about making sure that every, you know, mom and baby went home as healthy and happy as possible? Like, that was a great mission, and it was fun. I learned a lot. But what brought me back was, the more that I started talking to Chip and coming back into this idea, was like the impact that the River Cats can have on somebody's life, and like those lifelong memories and experiences that we provide here. Like, that's what gets me super excited about what I do. And like, that passion helps me like keep pushing the needle on like, what else can we go do? What else is there? How else, you know, what other group can we help out? So like that, I don't know, passion to me is important too.
Yes, perfect. What a great way to end. I appreciate your time. I think your interview in particular is going to be really exciting for a lot of kids in class. So I thank you very much for squeezing us in today. Thanks for all your advice and your input. This is cool. It's really great of you to take a minute. I think students appreciate that so much. So thank you.
Sure.
And I will be in touch.
Definitely, Amber. And I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't putting a River Cats plug in here at the end of like,
please,
as students are graduating and, you know, looking on to the next step. Always feel free to look at our website, like rivercats.com. We have a jobs section.
Cool.
We have different postings, whether it's in sales, marketing, food and beverage side. There's all these different, you know, options that come up time to time. So if there's something of interest, don't be afraid to apply and see where it goes. You know, it might not be the exact position you want to end your career at, but everybody starts somewhere, and you learn a lot along the way. So don't be afraid to apply if you see something.
Cool. And I'll include a link too. I'll include a link to your jobs page. That'd be great. They'll be really interested in that. Okay. Hey, thank you, Troy. Very nice to meet you. And I'll share a link with you when we post this so you can see it too.
Right on. Awesome.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
We'll see you.